Hi everyone, Oren here. Excuse the mess, we're currently working on our hobby area, so hence the backdrop being a bit odd. I recently had the privilege of talking to two Cubicle 7 team members on Wrath and Glory, Imperium Maledictum, and also the much anticipated Horus Heresy RPG. All of the questions will appear on the screen if you'd like to stop and read them thoroughly, but I will do my best to do an overview talk. Don't forget to listen to the end of each segment. There's some juicy teasers from what's to come in each RPG that you won't want to miss. They were also kind enough to send me a brand new copy of Vow of Absolution, which is here, still in the wrapper, which you can win if you'd like to. All you need to do is look out for 3 code words throughout the video and email sliceanddiceroleplay@gmail.com. I'll leave that in the description as well. If you email me the code, those 3 words, and your name will be chosen, or your alias, as a chance to win that. The draw will take place in 2 weeks, and it will be recorded so you can see when the winner is picked, and it's all done fairly. So without further ado, let's get into the video. To kick things off, we got to know the voices behind the games, Padraig and Chris from Cubicle 7. Padraig is a senior producer and wears many hats, from signing off on briefs to designing game systems and even handling lore directly with Games Workshop. Chris, meanwhile, is one of the core writers of Wrath and Glory, tackling everything from rules to narrative flavour, and apparently the overuse of the coffee machine in the office. We then dug into what makes each Warhammer RPG feel distinct, especially since Cubicle 7 now stewards multiple systems in the 40k setting. Padraig emphasised that the interplay between the game's mechanics and its tone are important. For example, Imperium Maledictum's slower investigative feel is built into everything from the rules to the visuals, whereas Wrath and Glory supports larger-than-life heroics and is fast-paced and an escalation. Even what kinds of stories each game empowers differs as well. An Imperial Maledictum group might be ferreting around about heresies in a hive city, where a Wrath and Glory team could be battling demons on a crumbling forge world. We also got a peek into daily life at Cubicle 7 as well. It turns out that behind the epic scope of 40k RPGs is a lot of very grounded work. Spreadsheets, freelancer contracts, PO numbers, scheduled meetings, but that's balanced with moments of creative joy such as developing new mechanics, debating lore consistency, or dreaming up a new adversary aligned to the ruinous powers. And finally, we asked the hard-hitting question. If you could hypothetically be a 40k faction, who would you be? Padraig went with the Orcs, not because it's safe, he says, but because, as he put it, they are the only ones enjoying the 41st millennium. Chris, more practical, chose the Administratum, where paperwork might be eternal, but your chances of surviving another day are higher. Moving on to Wrath and Glory, we discussed how this RPG captures the sheer scope and spectacle of Warhammer 40k while still giving players freedom to tell dramatic, character-driven stories. Chris explains that the game is built for bold, cinematic moments, from heroic charges to psychic detonations, and yet it still manages to reflect the grimdark tone through its world-building, consequences, and narrative tools. The game's mechanics give players space to interject their own narrative flourishes, while GMs are provided with detailed tools to escalate tension, enforce consequences, and keep the tone grounded. One big topic was community feedback. Chris shared that the Wrath and Glory community has had a meaningful impact on the game's evolution. Their responses shaped major expansions like the Eldari Inheritance of Embers, and a deep dive into the Eldari experience, and the ongoing Threat Assessment series, of which offers frameworks and tools for GMs to run complex campaigns across 40k's diverse settings. We also touched on unsung heroes of the archetype list. Chris championed the Sanctioned Psyker, a character type that walks a razor-thin line between having a valuable asset and a ticking warp-charge time bomb. Bit of a mouthful there. The Psyker is not only a powerful character mechanically, but narratively rich, marked by risk, fear, and potential corruption. And honestly, who doesn't want to vaporise a heretic with warp fire now and then? As for what's coming next, and this is very interesting news, Chris was rightfully cagey, joking that he might have heard distant howling, hinting that a chapter-specific content might be on the way. No confirmations of course, but fans of Space Wolves might have a reason to get excited. Next, we shifted focus to Imperium Melodictum, Cubicle 7's detective-style, low-power RPG set deep within the bureaucracy and decay of the Imperium. Compared to the bombastic tone of Wrath and Glory, Imperium Maledictum offers slow-burn thriller experiences, one that's about whispered heresies, crumbling archives, and a shadowy allegiance. Padre shared how he knew the team wanted to have a D100 system for a grittier game, and began exploring new storytelling space within the 40k universe, beyond just Inquisitors. That's how they arrived at the idea of working for any powerful patron in the Imperium, maybe a tech priest or a Munitorum clerk investigating disappearing planets. One highlight of the discussion was how the game creates danger without constant combat. Padraig explained that sometimes it's the threat of violence or the political fallout that makes things intense. The Imperium is a place where a misspoken word could have you executed for heresy, or start a trade war between noble houses. Influence mechanics, social hierarchies, and the looming presence of the Adeptus Terra all serve to make every interaction feel fraught with consequence. Character creation also got a spotlight as well. Imperium Maledictum uses a detailed life path system where your faction, origin, and service to the Imperium shape your character's abilities and worldview. Players are born into roles, and stepping outside of those roles is rare and dangerous. One particularly innovative element is the patron system. The players and the GM collaboratively build these patrons, shaping not just the NPC but the foundation of the campaign's direction. And as for common missteps, Padraig warned that some GMs might go easy on Psykers, but they shouldn't. Psykers are powerful, yes, but they are also deeply distrusted and often hunted, making their lives difficult. It isn't unfair, it's thematic. And lastly, future content was teased, specifically more book expansions like the Dual Book Inquisition set. These upcoming books will offer new campaign structures and faction-focused content, expanding how the players experience the game world. Now, one of the more anticipated topics, which is the Horus Heresy RPG. I started by asking, why now? Padraig replied, why not now? With the Siege of Terra novels concluding, it's the perfect time for players to dive into one of the richest areas of Warhammer lore. The new RPG will let players step directly into that age of betrayal, war, and galactic upheaval. The gameplay is described as epic yet desperate. You play powerful figures, mostly Astartes, who command fleets, make planetary decisions and directly shape the course of war. But your faction's situation is often precarious. You've just learnt of Horus's betrayal, your forces may be scattered, undersupplied and hunted. You'll have both strategic authority and on-the-ground responsibility. One of the key innovations that was talked about was dual character play. Each player will control a Space Marine and a mortal companion, maybe a Tech Adept, an Auxiliary Captain or a trusted Seneschal. These two characters offer flexibility, letting players shift perspective depending on the mission at hand, and to that the Warfleet mechanic, where the players maintain and manage larger forces under their command. Keep your fleet supplied, loyal and functional. This is a key challenge and a source of dynamic storytelling. The system is based on Warhammer the Old World role-playing game with tailored changes. It preserves the core familiar mechanics but is retooled for the epic stakes and larger scope of Heresy era. When asked how the game will balance lore fidelity with player freedom, Padraig made it clear there's room for countless untold stories. Whole worlds were scorched or saved during the Heresy without ever appearing in the novels. And if your table wants to rewrite history, go for it. The canon at your table is your own. And finally, I asked Padraig to summarise the Horus Heresy RPG in one sentence. And he said, in an age of darkness, the hopes of all mankind are set aflame. Will you stoke the fire, or be there to guard the cinders when they are all that remains? As we wrap things up, we snuck in one or more burning questions. Have you ever created something Games Workshop said no to? Chris gave the only answer he could give. Yes he has, and no he can't. Moving on. Looking ahead, Padraig said he's most excited for the Old World RPG starter set, which he believes captures the best way to experience the game. He said he's also eager to see how quickly players in the Horus Heresy RPG will try to take on a Primarch. For new players, both guests had advice. Don't be scared of the lore. Warhammer is vast, but you don't need to master the entire history or lore to enjoy it. Find the part that speaks to you and dive in. Whether it's the political corruption of the Imperium Maledictum, the heroic clashes of Wrath and Glory, or the galaxy-shattering choices of Horus Heresy, there's an entry point for everyone. And finally, where should you start? Chris was direct with his answer: the starter sets. They're not just beginner friendly, they're packed with enough content to run solid, immersive sessions right out of the box. I've been Orin, and thanks for listening.